Welcome back, everyone. It is another Tuesday night. That means another episode of Goal Horns and Fight Songs. And I think, as the theme has already been, but going to be even more, it's going to be Western Michigan theme. We have another special guest on with us, Wes, a returning guest.
Yes, a returning guest, another Bronco champion. He picked up his second All Ontario championship this year, making him the back to back U13 All Ontario champion with his Kincardine Canucks. Welcome once again to the show, Mr. Brent Walton, also known as Wally from Two Ales and Hockey Tales with Wally.
Yeah. And you were just on my show after our Broncos became national champions.
Yes, so we were doing a lot of championship chatting here lately.
Winning is fun.
It certainly is. So, quick question first, because I am hockey illiterate. It was the one sport I did not play as a kid. What exactly is the age group that makes up a U13 team, and how long do they play for that team?
So in the town I've been coaching in, we're a small town, so we do two age groups together. So my son was under 13 for 2 years. He's a 2012. So his first year, I mainly coached 2011s. And then this season, there was 3 returning 2012s, and then the rest were all new kids. And we won it last year. We won her all, beat everybody, went 16-0 in the playoffs, and had a parade through town and the whole deal. And then with 3 returning players, we did it again this season and beat everybody, and got to experience it with new kids, new families. And it's hilarious how many people said, wow, this is like a once in a lifetime thing. I'm like, well, not quite. But yeah, it's been a hoot, man. And I tell you, it gives you more family in town. Like when you go through that together all season, you do it voluntarily, you don't make money, and you put in the effort, and you see the kids put in the effort. And then when they go out and do whatever it takes to win and then actually get it done, it is magical stuff. And then you have that forever, just like the Broncos do.
I think I would equate that to, would that be like Pee-wees in the US, something like
Yeah,
that, the U13?
it would be the old Pee Wee. They just call it under 13 now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we still have Pee-wee's Bantam.
So I'm like the new Gordon Bombay, man.
There you go.
Great movies.
So you had a whole new team, in Western had a whole new team. So how did you go through the process of getting everybody together and playing on the same direction and just building a team that quickly? Because it seems to be a hard thing to do, but I know 2 teams that did it very successfully this year.
Well, I think everybody does hockey differently, and I'm sure Furschweiler does things differently than I do. You got to know your crowd, but my vision was, after I was a co-coach last season, and the other coach planned the tournaments and when we went to them, and I was just like, yep, I'm there, I'll help out, and I ran the forwards, and we were co-coaches. And this year as the head coach, I got to pick when the tournaments were. My vision was to do a tournament immediately. As soon as I picked the team, we went straight to a hotel tournament because I thought that would bring the boys together. And I told them, because there's no semifinals, it was all how you did in the round robin, whether or not you made the finals. I told them if they won their first 2 games on the Friday, that when we got back to the hotel, they could shave my head. And then that turned into not just shaving my head, but I was actually the last one to get my head shaved. And they all shaved each other's heads. And then we went through the tournament with the best haircuts in hockey and kicked the shit out of everybody and won the trophy. And then after that high of starting the season, and I also did the biggest belly flop I could. I didn't have a very long run to the pool, but I tell you, I got as high and as far as you possibly could. And then I think the boys realized hockey was fun, and we were a team, and we were all in it together. And then we went back and lost our first 2 regular season games. And it was a tough start, but to think of a team losing their first 2 regular season games and then becoming the All-Ontario champions, it's pretty neat.
Yeah, I mean, there's sometimes losing kind of gets rights the ship, especially if you come out a little hot. Sometimes you forget that you still got some hockey to learn and a nice little.
Well, when you're fired up with winning a tournament and winning a trophy, and then you just go back to a Tuesday night regular season game, the boys just weren't as amped up.
Yeah.
And some of them had
Mhm.
fixed their haircuts and they weren't looking as good as we did in the tournament.
I can only imagine some of the conversations that those parents had with those kids. Like, son of a.
And they didn't know me at all, and I'm the new coach, and then I'm like, hey, you boys can shave my head, and then it turns into their own sons shaving their hair, shaving each other's hair. So they didn't care about each other and do a good job. Like, there were some of the funniest haircuts I've ever seen, and I told them the next day when we got to the rink, I'm like, all right, boys, we had fun. We all look great. I'm like, but you can't rock around a tournament with haircuts like this and not win. You have to win now.
Yeah,
Or we just look like idiots.
for sure. For sure.
That's probably the best coaching advice you could give. Just be like, okay, look like complete idiots. Please just don't make that true.
Yeah, now you have to win. And they did though. And it was a magical year, I tell you. And so talk about bringing a team together early. I did that. Then there's a little cottage course around here, a little 9-hole course, par 3 course. I got the team together and we had our own little golf tournament. I made a trophy. I broke the teams up into their lines and D pairs, and they all had a coach on their team as well. And I thought that brought them together as line mates, as D partners. We had a great day. What came down to, it was a tie. We went to a shoot off to see who won, and you know what? I nailed it. My team won. And then I also got into moo-offs. I don't know if you've heard of a moo-off, but a moo-off is when you get on all fours and you have to maintain eye contact and you moo at each other until somebody laughs or doesn't maintain eye contact. And I got the boys into that when I would go to the rink to decide who the starting lineup was. I'd have either the wingers or the centermen have moo-offs, and whoever won, that line started the game. So I tried to make hockey as fun as I could, you know?
That's what it's about too, especially
If you guys have
there-
never mooed, you should try a moo-off sometime. Because now I've seen, because doing the podcast and talking about moo-offs, there's moo-offs happening around the world, and it's a real movement I'm starting.
I mean, I've got a 2-year-old practicing in the back seat.
Right. Yeah.
So
I tell you, when you've moved against someone, that's when you really become friends, because I'd done the shaving the heads with the kids, but then the next tournament, I had to get to the parents a little bit. And when the kids went to bed, it was pretty persistent, but I got the parents and they're all just sitting around drinking, having beers, and everybody's just sitting around. I'm like, this isn't enough. I got the parents right into moo-offs, and I tell you, it really brought the parents together too.
I think Wes and I are pretty good enough friends to, instead of mooing off to each other.
Well, you don't know how good of friends you are. Do you think you would win the moo-off?
oh no, he'd lose.
Yeah. Mike, you don't look like a
N-
mooer. You'd
No,
get
well,
throttled in the mooing leagues.
the thing is, Wes is so stoic. He scares the shit out of all the players when he's standing there behind the bet or behind the net during warm-ups. So I know I'd lose. I
Right.
mean,
And
I
if he
laugh
was
just looking at his
painted and
face.
mooing at you, there's no way you could win.
Yeah, I mean, I laugh at his face now, so I'd lose. At least I'm honest about it.
That's true though, eh, Wes? Like when I was looking at your poster pics, when you get painted for a game, you really put your game face on, eh? Like you kind of
Yeah.
scared me, and that was just through pictures.
Yeah, I mean, the boys are out there to do something. I
Hmm.
put my game
You got,
face
you
on and show
yeah.
that I'm there in support.
So instead of talking about me, I saw, well, you work at Waldo's,
I do.
which is a great name for a bar and one of the funnest bars in college hockey. And I saw that after they won the national championship, the boys came to Waldo's with the trophy and in their Bronco jerseys and gave you a signed jersey.
Oh yeah, they put a signed jersey up in the bar. They came and hung out on a Thursday night, so really got
Thursday
that.
nights are the best ones, so they might have had a picture or two.
Oh, there was definitely some pictures flowing for sure. They got the full Waldo's Thursday experience. Had a spot all to themselves, could invite over who they wanted. Have tell bugger off to who they wanted to tell bugger off to, and we took care of them.
That's hockey, and they earned that. And it's interesting with the Waldos, the Thursday nights, is most hockey teams play on Fridays and Saturdays, and you really don't get to experience Waldos as much as you want to as a Bronco.
Yeah, no, not until the end of the year. Sometimes we'll get them there in the summer. But
Hmm.
yeah, they got to wait till they're done playing, or maybe it's an off week and they get the all clear to come hang out. But that's definitely the
Yeah,
spot to be if you're in Kalamazoo. Even before a game, it's close enough that you can grab a drink and head straight to the arena and not miss much.
it's really weird that like nothing changes, right? Like I haven't been to Western or played there for like 19 years, and it's still Thursday night at Waldo's.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Hmm.
in fact, this Thursday will be our busiest night of the school year for sure. The old
Why's that?
Thursday of finals week.
Oh, when everybody's just finishing up and it's time to let your hair down, you did it.
Yep. Weekend of
Hmm.
studying. Finals are all done. One last
Waldo's
hurrah
must be
before.
like I've only been at Waldo's when it's dark in there. One time I went in the
Something
daytime and I couldn't quite believe it. But it must be a mess when people leave on those Thursday nights, eh?
Not terribly bad. I mean, there's some
No?
nights where it's a little worse than others, but it seems to have mellowed out here in the last few years.
Is that right? People are growing up, not like my generation.
Yeah, yeah. Less fights, less being obnoxious animals, just people forgetting IDs or being a little too young to partake. But
Wes is just sitting there
Mm.
like, I don't know how messy it gets. I'm out in the front stealing IDs from kids.
now I know how messy it gets. I just don't have to clean it up anymore. I dip out at 12:30 now. I'm just there to take IDs and say, "See you later, boys."
It's a cool bar though, for
Yeah, no,
anybody that doesn't know.
it's a good
And
little
it's neat
spot.
for me that I love Western Michigan so much, and the bar I remember, well, that in the tap room, but Waldo's, that's a great name because that was my nickname when I got to Germany. Instead of Wally, they called me Waldo.
That, and I mean, if you tell your parents you're going to Waldo's, are you going to the bar, are you going to the library, or are you going to the football stadium to watch a football game?
Who does know?
Exactly.
The
So
I was just gonna say the cool part about those pictures too is unfortunately Wes couldn't get the trifecta because uh Cam Rowe signed his AHL contract, but that one picture with both Tristan and Robbie, I was like, that's pretty cool that we had two out of the three guests that were on that team that you were able to get a picture in. I'm still surprised they let you actually hold that trophy.
Let's be honest. That trophy has been passed around quite a bit. They are not keepers of the trophy as far as like the Stanley Cup. Everyone's getting a chance to hold that thing, and it's I think it's a great experience, and it's awesome to see the boys just celebrating it with the entire community and not kind of keeping it to themselves. So it's a heavy
um
some bitch.
I tell you, seeing some of the videos and posts from WMU hockey since they've won, I always said I can't imagine winning there because it was so much fun even not winning there. Like the fun those boys must have had the last week and just the whole school and community. I tell you, winning is so much fun.
Oh, and Shotsley, who was here last week, would like me to remind you, Mike, that I sort of called the Cam signing that he would be signing somewhere within the Chicago organization last week. When I don't know if it was on the show or afterwards, but nailed that one.
It was. I do remember you saying that.
How do
But
you know things like that?
there's some right. Sometimes you can read the writings on the wall. You can kind of know where a guy's most likely to go just based on his personality or where he likes, and kind of reading the words on Twitter. But
Mm,
I think it was just likely if he was going to sign, especially late in the year, that it was going to be somewhere close to his home. And being a Chicago kid, most of the time if you get an opportunity to play for the
you
team
got to
you
be pretty
rooted for.
you got to be pretty lucky to choose where you're
Oh
going
yeah,
to pro.
yeah. But I thought if the opportunity presented itself, that would be a landing spot for him for sure.
Hmm.
So he
It's
is.
pretty neat seeing what those Broncos have done after winning, and you see Washy go straight to the show, and you see Bump sign a contract, and then I saw all the Broncos huddled around him while he's signing his NHL deal, and I thought, man, this is Bronco hockey. All those guys supporting their teammate, nobody's jealous, everybody's showing up for him. Like that's hockey.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, that's kind of been the last few years now too. Like we're getting to see it happen more and more, and we're almost getting numb to it. Like, oh, who's gonna? It's not even a matter of who's going to sign us? When are they going to sign, and how many is it going to be this year? How do we rebuild after all the loss?
Well, and shout out to a guy I've had on my podcast twice is Ethan Frank. He made his NHL debut, and he's got to be a part of watching Ovechkin go for the goals record. Like he was his teammate the season he broke the record. That's pretty neat for a Bronco.
Oh yeah, that was. I've been waiting for Ethan to get a shot at the NHL, and he came up and just instantly played his incredibly and showed off them wheels that he's got attached to them quads.
Yeah, and he in the AHL, it's weird how some guys get their shot right away out of school or whatever, junior hockey, and that guy scored goals at Western. The reason I met him was because I got a tweet from WMU saying he's the first Bronco to score 4 goals in a game since I did, and then that's what connected us was them tagging me, and then I'm like, hey dude, you want to talk? And then you see how many goals he scores in college, and then he goes to the AHL and does the same thing, but doesn't just score. He is the fastest skater in the AHL All-Stars and skating faster than McDavid. And then he also wins back-to-back championships, so he's a goal scorer, he's fast, and he wins. And it's like, so what are we waiting for here, people?
Yeah, exactly. And then he gets to the AHL or the NHL, and they kind of, I don't know, they kind of played themselves a little bit here. They didn't get him back down to the AHL early enough that he could be going for the three-peat, and then they kind of had to scratch him a few nights because they brought in guys at the trade deadline. But he seems to be back in the lineup. He got to be involved in Ovi's record-breaking goal celebration and part of the Caps playoff run here. So hopefully everything's working out well for Ethan.
Well, it's always way better to be in the show than be in the A, whether you're playing or not. You make a lot more dollars.
And then it's funny too because his goalie, Hunter Shepard, former rival at UMD, he he goes up, he plays a game, they throw him in there, gets absolutely torched, and I'm watching the comments. I knew he was never an NHL. I'm like, okay, it's one game.
Yeah.
Yeah, he looked a little uncomfortable, but he's still a young enough kid. Goalies don't develop until way later.
Well,
Typically.
and it's like you're playing your first NHL game and you know the pressure on a goalie. I went to
Mhm.
my first AHL game and I couldn't believe how much pressure I felt. I was so nervous that I couldn't play the way I did at Western Michigan. I saw people I had seen on TV in warm-ups and I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing out here? And then you go out and you don't believe in yourself, or you don't have the confidence, and you're like, what am I doing here? Why me? And you don't play as well. And the kid just needs to get used to it. You give him a few more games and he'll be fine.
I think that maybe helped Tim in his NHL debut because I was able to watch it, but he had Sam, a former teammate, playing with the Ducks. Just a familiar face
It's
that
nice to
knows
have.
him. Yeah, it can be, hey, dude, you're good enough to be here. I know how good you are. I played with you. Just giving that little boost of confidence.
Well,
Um,
just having a familiar face makes you feel more comfortable. And I
mhm.
always say happy hockey players play better, but comfortable hockey players can play better too when you're not so nervous. And then you have a guy that you could probably have your pregame meal with. They might have made them roommates in the hotel. And then all of a sudden you feel like you're back in college and you're just going out to play another game.
Yeah, and I think it did help too, where he was able to not go into, and I'm not saying that this would have mattered too much to him with how many big games he played in, but Ducks are out of the playoffs. It meant more to the Wild than it did to the Ducks for that game for sure. Um, but then you get a guy like Z William. He makes his NHL debut in game one on Sunday. He didn't look comfortable. He just
I
didn't.
didn't see that, but he was a great player watching him in college
Oh,
there.
he's a great player, but there were definitely times where you could tell going from playing Western in the Frozen Four to now playing Vegas in the first round of the NHL playoffs. There was a massive difference that he wasn't quite ready for. The speed was he,
Well,
he
I think he's ready. I've watched him play. He just needs to believe in himself and believe he's there for a reason. But um, it was interesting after watching all the Bronco games on TV through the run there. I was watching Tim Washy's NHL debut. I was surprised he didn't get that more ice time. He didn't play much
No,
because
he
when he
didn't.
was out there, I thought he was very effective. His first shift, they were in their end cycling. He was on the right side of the puck, doing everything right. And I thought he warranted more ice time, especially for a team that's not making the playoffs. But what do I know? Um, but like that guy jumping right into the NHL playoffs, like that Anaheim game I watched, I was watching with someone that had watched the Bronco games with me, and they're like, "This is the NHL. Why is it so slow? The Bronco
Hmm.
games were faster than this."
Yeah, I always think that too when I watch him on TV. And then you hit the playoffs, and it is a different level watching
The
him on TV.
playoffs
But
totally different. Isn't it weird how NHL guys can totally turn it up way more come playoff time? You watch those last regular season games, even from Christmas on, they're not giving her like it's the playoffs. And then as soon as you watch the first shift of playoffs, I always would love watching the first shift of playoffs for every round because the guys go out there just like crazy. And you're like, well, why didn't you play like this all the time? But I guess they got to get through 82 games.
yeah, I think what was the stat? Just the physicality. The Wild averaged 20 hits per game throughout the regular season. After the first period, they had 24.
Yeah.
Jesus.
And you know what else is fun when we're talking about the small hockey world and Broncos? Is the Wild's assistant coach is a Western Michigan Bronco that's been on my podcast, Pat Dwyer.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty neat when an NHL coach will come on your podcast, and he was your teammate.
Yeah, I think that's certainly a helper there that you guys were teammates. But no, I mean you've had a couple NHL coaches on your podcast, Dwyer, Fursch, um,
Yeah, there's been a few I can't remember, but and players, and I always find interesting who people listen to when I talk to them. I mean, I played in the UK for a couple seasons, one in a bit, and then I got hurt, but my following is mainly in the UK, and I can have a I had Matt Molson on who scored 30 goals in the
Oh,
NHL however
yeah,
many
sure.
times, and he's below middle of the pack for listen to episodes. And you get the guys on from the UK and it shoots through the roof of how many people are listening. And you're like, oh, it really isn't about the career, really. It's about the people you know, how you treated fans, how you talk to people. Like, I don't know. It's interesting in the UK. The players and the fans are much more connected, or at least were when I was there, than an NHL player to the fans because there's more separation and they just go out and play and you don't like know them. Where in the UK, you play the game and you go out to the bar and have a couple beers with the fans. You know, you get to know them.
Yeah, because Matt Molson, he played, was it 2 years here in Minnesota? I think something like that. I know it was later in his career he came
Well,
to the
he
Wild.
played for Cornell. So our backstory was we were in the race for the Junior B scoring title when I was in Elmira Shirking, and I beat him by about 10 points or so, but he got mono and missed some games, so he blames that. I'm like, whatever, you know, whatever, suck it up, play. But then he went to Cornell, and their team was awesome, and we played them almost every year because it was a former Bronco coach coaching Cornell. So we would play them like every year, and then I'd see him there, and then you see the career he ends up having in pro, and well, then you see the career I had, and you're like, shoot. Well, at least I have that Junior B scoring title. So, where to next, Wes?
So you've mentioned before that you kind of had a tumultuous experience here at Western, but it seems in the last few years that you've been more welcome or more accepting of coming back and viewing the program a little more favorably. So what does this national title mean to you as someone who played here, had a little bit of adversity here, but overall enjoyed their time in Kalamazoo and what it meant to be a Bronco?
I mean, I didn't have a tumultuous time. I I got recruited by coaches that wanted me. They were my coaches all 4 years. They put me in every position to succeed as a player. I mean, my third and fourth year, the power plays were set up around getting me the shots and having me make the plays, and I put up a lot of numbers, but When I turned pro, then I found out that because we had lost or whatever, um, the coaches weren't saying that great of things. And I'm like, so you convinced me to come back after my junior year to play here, and teams wanted me, and I came back to help you and be part of this. And then I stay that extra year, scored, I think, like 25 or 26 goals, did the best I could. And I didn't think we had nearly a good enough team. I didn't think we were even close. And then when I turned pro, they don't have my back. That's not how I hockey. That's not how I do it with my kids. Um, I will have their back if they give me everything they got. I got their back all day long, and that turned me off a bit. But it was also how much fun you had there for 4 years, how they're like your brothers, and then when it's all over, you miss it so much that I saw a post Dana Lattery put up after they won the national championship, and he was my captain when I got there, and a fantastic captain. And a big part of why the Broncos can win nowadays is having guys like that be captains for your program. He put up a post about what it meant to him and that he hadn't been back to Kalamazoo since 2004. And part of it was because it hurt too much, because you miss it too much, because you cared so much that you can't imagine going back. And I was similar, and I went off and did my own career, so you don't get back as before you wanted to. But last summer, I went back for the golf tournament, met Fersh, met a bunch of the boys, met younger generations, had met guys in person I'd had on the podcast, like Witkowski. Um, and it was like I was right back in the Bronco family, and like not a day's gone by. And it was still Dion Van Adder and Brian Bauer around. It was so many of the same faces, and you realize the Bronco hockey family, um, it doesn't change, and we're Broncos for life. And when Lattery posted about how he'll never think of it like he has since 2004, how it's changed the way he looks at it and our tough times there and where it is now, and that we all got to see the program become what we wanted it to be, what we strived for it to be. Um, People could say we weren't good enough. It's like, well, sometimes you don't recruit good enough players, but I know how hard everybody was working around me. I know how much my teammates cared, and I cared as much as anybody. And the bonds it brought for me for life with guys, even for my parents, the other parents that would come every weekend, and they'd come back to our parties after the games. And like, it was like our parents got to go back to college too. And it was so much fun. And then you go to pro and your teammates don't care about you as much. They don't, they're not like Bronco brothers. They're just pro hockey players, and like they all have different backgrounds and they're from different countries and have different upbringings, and they just don't care about you like the Bronco guys cared about each other. And when I saw them win this weekend, I saw the run through it, and I saw the brotherhood. But then, like during that final game, they would show the crowd, and I'm like, oh, there's so and so. Oh, there's so and so. Oh, there's so and so. And like, this is in St. Louis. And I'm like, so it's all the same people still watching this team. This is crazy. And then it was all my former teammates that made the effort to be in St. Louis. And this team brought back so much of the Bronco brother love, from my era of guys that might have tasted a bit of sour milk by the end of their 4 years. um, it brought everybody back to being proud of being a Bronco and proud of where the program is. Because for me, I hate losing. Like, I hate losing more than anything. And I don't care about the goals myself or assists. I want to win the game. And I felt like the Broncos got worse over my 4 years and not better. And I didn't leave it in a better place than I found it. And I didn't know what I did wrong, but I tried to play as hard and do everything I could to win. And then, you know, you do your best, and then it hurts when you leave, and you're like, so we're worse than when I got here. And I just put in 4 years of effort and did it with my brothers. And now to see where they're at now, to see what they did, um, it's incredible.
Yeah, I know. I ended up making the trip up to the regional final in Fargo because perfect on a weekend, 3.5, 4 hour drive. I could save money, go to St. Louis, or I could go to Fargo. Just not knowing. I know they're playing that game. You don't know what's gonna happen, so don't get my hopes up. Go there. There was a suite. I was wandering around trying to find Dan Bartholomew, the AD, because I was gonna go say hi to him. We've had him on a couple times. As I'm wandering around, there was a suite of Western alumni, and I started talking to a guy in front of me. He's like, "Oh yeah, there's a bunch of former players right here." I don't know who they are because obviously I haven't followed the team for as long as West or like you playing. I don't know who these guys are, but it was just cool to see that those former players were there in a suite, and a lot of Western fans made that trip. Yeah, it's closer to Kalamazoo than it is to Amherst, but you
Well,
know.
and like Firsch is a big part of trying to bring everybody back, and it means a lot to guys like me. Like I went back to the golf tournament and met him, and we were talking briefly about why a lot of guys from my era don't come back, and there weren't a lot of them there. And he said, we need to bring them all back. And I said, I totally agree. I'm loving this. This is fantastic being back in the Bronco family. And he's like, we're going to bring them all back. And I'm like, yes, we are. And then they go out and win the national championship. And my group chats were going nuts. And I had them with all my different eras of Broncos. And the group chats were just as funny as when we were in university, which I don't even know if we had them then because we didn't have like real phones. But not to age myself here, but like it was so neat to have everybody texting again and everybody back in it. And winning gets people talking, winning gets people places. You see it with the players, but like it got all us old Broncos all talking too. And it was incredible.
I think that's the thing that Dan is trying to build too. When we've talked with him, we asked him about bringing all the coaches together and bringing that brotherhood, and then trying to reach out to alumni, and he wants that brotherhood and sisterhood of all Western Michigan athletics. Uh, he told us about the volleyball game, and they were, I don't know, in the fifth set, and the whole football team was at the game and they got rowdy and they ended up winning that match. They want to build that camaraderie not just amongst the teams themselves, but amongst all the student athletes. I told him, I'm like,
It
man, I should
makes
have gone to
sense.
Western Michigan. You got me fired up. Now I still want the Broncos to lose when they play my Bulldogs, but you got me fired up.
Oh yeah. And support is a big deal. It's like I talked to Steve Silver on my podcast. He was a freshman when I was a senior, and he went to St. Louis for it. And he said Western Michigan took over St. Louis. He said everywhere you went, it was Broncos. And um, he said everybody that wasn't a Bronco or Boston University, whatever they are, Terriers, like everybody was cheering for the Broncos. Everybody was. Everybody loves an underdog story. But also, like, yeah, like it's neat that the Lawson Lunatics help the Broncos win hockey games. They There's a reason why when I played there, we would win at home and lose on the road. And it was the Lawson Lunatics, and how excited you were to play for them, and how excited you would be for them to do their chants and get loud and get obnoxious. And you wanted to score a goal so bad just to see what they would do. And then when you go on the road and that's not going to happen, our team just didn't have the same gusto. And it does take everybody to win, and the Lawson Lunatics are a huge part of the Broncos winning.
It it was kind of funny in Fargo. Obviously, you're gonna get a lot of North Dakota fans coming down from Grand Forks, a few hours away. I was amazed because if I go to watch North Dakota play somebody, I don't want them to win. I really don't care who they're playing. I don't want them to win. But here are people in Nodak jerseys cheering for the Broncos when they score. It was a home ice advantage. Now, granted, yeah, NCHC, just we want to see the NCHC succeed. But I'm looking around, I'm like, this is weird. like I at least have a decent reason for
You're
cheering for
cheering
these
for the
guys,
yeah.
but these people have no reason that I know of, and I'm
I'd
jumping
say
up and down.
there's a lot
I'm
of people
screaming.
on the Bronco bandwagon and like even Spit and Chicklets jumping on board. And like I always said, the Broncos have everything you need to be a powerhouse school. When I got to that school compared to the other ones I had visited, it was like, oh, I'm home. This is where I want to be. Um, it's not too big of a city. Um, the school is as fun as it gets. And realistically, hockey players that are into being hockey players, they don't usually want the toughest school around. They want to go to school and do fine so they can play hockey. And that's what
Mhm.
Western Michigan was. And they have everything you need. And now the word's out. And then when people are posting the videos after they win and how fun the school is and the fires in that neighborhood there, like what young hockey player wouldn't want to be a Western Michigan Bronco right now?
Right, you guys are stealing your second Mr. Hockey from Minnesota. I
Why
can't
wouldn't we?
remember his name. I think he's from Moorhead, but Bump was Mr. Hockey, and now you guys got another kid. I'm like, really? Come on.
Yeah. Well,
Like let us have our players.
why wouldn't you want to be a Bronco? It's a good day to be a Bronco, as they say.
If
Who's
you don't
going
have anything,
next?
Wes, I have something
No, go
that's
ahead,
kind
please,
of
please, please, go ahead.
there's something, and it's just kind of speculation, but it's something Wes and we've talked about a little bit. People in the national media, they're floating around Firsch being a top candidate for some NHL jobs. But I, Wes and we don't really see it. We think he's where he wants to be at least for the next for the yeah, foreseeable future, where this kind of is the dream job for the minute because he has had a taste of the NHL. He has coached at every level and he's having success with these kids and he's built this program up to literally the top. What do you think about that? Like just
I I I think he could get an NHL job tomorrow if he wanted it. Um, I don't think he does. I think what he's doing and the program he's building, um, I think those opportunities will come when he chooses to take them. You do what he's done and win a national championship with the Broncos. I think the next NHL coaching jobs that come up, they would be interested in him if he was interested. But I mean, looking back on the coach I had and seeing the life he lived and what he got to do and make a really good living coaching college hockey, which was should be as fun as it gets. Um, I'm like, this would be the dream job. Like, so you coach kids, you try to help them get to the next level, you try to help them get to the NHL. You get to be as proud as you can be, but you also get to make pretty darn good money to be an NCAA Division One coach. And it's like, so the extra added pressure of going to the NHL and all the other bells and whistles you got to deal with. Um, I don't know. I don't. Why do you need to do that now? Like, do what you want to do, follow your passion, be a Bronco, and make it the best you can be. And then once you've done what you set out to do, then those options will still be there.
well, and I think my view on it is he's kind of at least at this point in time, he's kind of like a Scott Sandlin, where a few years ago Sandy was interviewing for the Ducks job. He's interviewing for all these other jobs, but he's happy coaching college. And like you said, you're making a good living, you're developing these kids, you're winning now, us, not the last few years, but you're winning national titles and you have job security in a sense. You're not at a North Dakota where, they fire a coach after a 20 plus win season. Um, but you go to the NHL, the Kraken, they fired two coaches within 4 years, Hackstall
Well,
and
that's what I
Bielema.
mean. It's like what I mean when I was a Bronco. when I signed to go there, they were a top 10 team in the country, and I thought I was going to a winner. And then we progressively got worse each season until they made a change. And it was interesting how much loyalty and job security there was because it was going the wrong direction and nothing changed. And I thought, wow, what, like, these jobs don't happen in pro hockey. You can't
Hmm.
lose season after season and they keep bringing you back. And I think an NCAA head coaching job is a fantastic gig. And if you're good at it and rocking it, and then they'll pay you what you're worth, why the hell would you want to go anywhere else?
Well, wasn't it St. Louis that fired their coach to pick up the coach who got fired? Like Montgomery. Yeah, I think Montgomery got
Yeah.
fired by somebody this year, and
So they just fired their coach to get him.
yeah, St. Louis fired their coach and hired Montgomery like 3 days later after he got fired from wherever he was just coaching.
Well, you should see, like, after they're playing in Europe for a decade, what a bloodbath that is for coaches. Like, so there's this November break where each league takes a national team break in November, and that's because the countries are playing their warm-up tournament games, so the leagues will shut down for a week. And for most players, it's a week to get away, travel Europe, have some fun. But for the coaches, if you've had a tough start until November, come that November break, there's the axes going down all over Europe. And then they bring in the next coach. And it's like, so you gave them till November? It's like, what if they could have turned it around? But that's just how they do it over there. And I don't know, like, I love coaching and I love coaching these kids and seeing them become hockey players and winning championships. Um, I do think there's a day in my life I'm going to want to scratch this itch of coaching for real. And, I actually did get my first offer to make money coaching hockey within the last week. It's not something I can take, but it was pretty neat that these under 13 kids had put me in a spot that someone offered me to get paid to coach hockey because that would be really fun. But anyways,
And,
it
well, and
was
I think
neat.
the other thing too with depending on which league and which level you're coaching, college hockey, you have a lot more control on who you're bringing in than you do at the pro levels or sometimes even the junior levels because these juniors teams they have their general managers and yeah, the coaches have input, but college hockey right now it's who am I recruiting? Who am I going after? Who do I want to bring in from the transfer portal? Who do I want to do this? You have a lot of control over what you're doing versus, you know, you get typically the teams that are hiring coaches are terrible teams the year previously. You don't have really that. You can have your say, but the GM is going to do what the GM does, and the owner is going to say what they're going to say. You don't have as much control, I think.
Well, it's a different dynamic when your GM is, well, and then you get the scouts involved where they scout these kids from a young age, and as a coach, you don't know these people.
Hmm.
Pro's different that way when, like, you get to the UK and they leave it kind of up to the coach of who he's taking. And I was a Cardiff Devil, and they know how to recruit great people and great teammates. And that's what they did. They brought in great people and great guys. And it was the most fun I had had playing hockey in so long. And then you see what they have become as a franchise. And it's because of the people they bring in, where if it's not up to the coach and it's up to, like in Germany, they'll hire a coach and he doesn't pick his players. I saw one guy, he's a North American coach, and then all of his imports were from Europe and he had no North American players. I'm like, so he hasn't picked this team at all. And then sure to shit, he's fired by November. And it's because he's not coaching the guys he wants to coach. He's coaching guys that came from a whole different background and don't get them, you know?
Completely different style of hockey, land of misfit toys in a sense.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, It's, I don't know, every place is different, but some people know how to win and some people don't. But I guess the West Michigan Broncos do now, right?
Yeah. I think so. You've gotten a chance to talk to Fersh, and I think you kind of know who he is. Here's why I think he's not quite ready to leave Western yet. He played here. He thought it could be something. Yes, he's got a national title, but I think he wants to build it into a perennial contender. And I don't know. I think we're on the first step of that, right? So for me, if he leaves this year or next year, there's a chance that they could slip back to being
Mediocre.
a mediocre team, because you look at the way that hockey has changed with the transfer portal. Look how many guys will hit the portal the second a coach leaves. Northern Michigan had a completely different team from last year to this year because their coach left. And that's how we ended up with two of the best players on the team this year. That's how we ended up with Hampton and Grant Slukinski, was because their coach left at Northern Michigan, and they said, all right, we'll open her up and see what else is available. And Frisch was able to convince him that Western was the spot for him, and it worked out. But if he leaves, and depending on who he takes with him, if it's an assistant coach or something, a lot of guys would leave, and it would put Western in a bind as to rebuilding a team, and they could end up where Miami is. Miami has struggled for the last almost 10 years now, 8 years.
Oh,
Yeah,
God.
like
Yeah.
I don't think you need to worry about that, because I think the day Western went from last place to first place in the CCHA when they made a coaching change in one season with the same players, I think Western realized how important it is to invest in coaches. And I'm not being mean, but they started bringing in coaches that they were paying more money for and didn't just work their way up. Like first had been the NHL, and then the guy there before that turned the program around originally, that went to the Red Wings. Like coaching matters, and it matters at every level. And if First did leave, they would find a guy that could do it.
Oh, yeah, I'm not saying they couldn't. I'm just saying, like, that's the fear. Like, to me, it's like he wants Western to be in a sustainable place where it kind of doesn't matter who you could bring
Well,
in
I
a
think
coach who
this
can
this
pick up
this
and
this
build.
new rink matters to him too, though.
Yeah.
Like
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I've heard him talk about it so many times and the effort he's put into it. He's not leaving until he puts a stamp on that place too, I don't think.
Yeah, that's a huge thing.
You went through, let's just say, the lack of facilities that Western has. They're clearly not the greatest. And you guys
I
made it
mean,
work.
what do you need? Like, actually, like people keep saying that. It's like for me, it's like when you go into those huge locker rooms and you're literally sitting that far away from your teammate, it's like how often you get to that side of the room to talk to him and become buddies. Why do you need that big of a locker room to be a team? It's like the bigger the room, the further you are away from each other. I think the Broncos have always had everything you need, and I don't think you need every bell and whistle to be a good hockey team. You need people to care, and you need people to love each other and care more than the other team. And I didn't feel like I was lacking in resources or anything I needed to be a good hockey player when I was there. Um, you use what you got, and like I went to Cardiff in the UK after playing in some fancy arena in Denmark, and then I get to this big blue tent, they called it, and it was like a circus tent, and that was our arena, as it's supposed to be some temporary arena, um, while they were building the new one, and then it ends up taking like 10 years, and they played in the circus tent, and we won a trophy playing out of that arena. There would be water ankles deep in the shower because it wouldn't drain. It wasn't a nice arena, but it's what you make of it. It's like you don't need to have the fanciest shit. You don't need to have the nicest car to get from point A to point B.
I think that was really like where I was trying to get to. Was it, would it have mattered to you? Because I think I sent it to Mike. I was like, if you're at the point where a guy is choosing your university over the next one based on the facilities, like, is that really a guy you want on the team?
I don't think that
Mhm.
guy has a lot of character to him.
Like, to me, it doesn't matter. I think if you're able to deal with what you can deal with, and sometimes go through those slightly less or lower quality facilities, like I think it makes you a better person. I think it makes you a better player, makes you a better teammate. Like,
I see what they did with the locker room since I left. It's like that's a fantastic hockey locker room, and it's still in Lawson, and you got the Lawson Lunatics there. It's like so you can have the biggest locker room in the world. You can have the nicest stick room. You can have couches and TVs to watch TV, but does that mean you go out and play hockey better? We have the Lawson Lunatics out there. So what do you need?
Yeah, and like Amsoil, I know um they have fairly nice facility at the arena, but you keep bringing up the lunatics, and I agree. That's a huge advantage. The students at UMD, I'm gonna rip them. It's not the same as even when I was going to games, 15 years ago. There used to be the upper bowl and the lower bowl filled. Now it's really just the lower bowl, and it's filled 80% of the time on the one end. Where I turn on a Western game, it's packed.
Chaos. Oh
It's
yeah.
just packed. And we actually brought that up too, where how are you gonna incorporate the lunatics? Because I'm so far distanced from this new arena, I'm like, okay, they're getting a new arena, sweet. But they actually brought it up to the lunatics, and they've been involved in, okay, how are we doing this? Are we gonna keep the same end to end? Yep, they are. They're gonna keep that advantage. My only concern is these new arenas, a lot of the sound gets to be pushed up, where at Lawson, it's more towards the ice.
Yeah.
That it causes way more chaos for the opposing team.
I support a lot of things Western Michigan's doing. I would rather renovate Lawson with my whole heart and not be going downtown and let the students pregame in the dorms and walk over and have a time. I don't like brand new arenas. I don't like all the fancy shit, but that's who I am. Um, I think the Bronco core is not bells and whistles. It's not fancy shit. It's go out and get the work done. And I would much rather them have fixed up Lawson to whatever they think they need to win, which seems like they already have. So I'm not really sure what we're going for with this arena downtown and students having to travel downtown, but whatever, it's not up to me.
See, and that's something else that I brought up to Dan was we're kind of going through at the University of Minnesota, the basketball arena is, I don't know, I think 100 years old, something like that, called the barn. It looks like a big old brick barn. The floor is raised. It is old school.
Yeah,
Like one of the
it's hockey or
most,
basketball, whatever.
it's one of the most historic arenas. While you have people saying we need to get a new arena, we need to do this. Well, they just built a however many $1 million student athlete facility, whatever. Renovate the barn. Just keep it because it is tradition. I like that. And I asked him, I said, what would you say to people that want to keep the old school? And well, when I show them everything we're gonna have and our whole vision behind this, some people turn around. But that's the trick is people like you as well that you have to convince them for the new arenas. And you might not be convinced regardless, but they're trying to get the community on board. Yeah, it's great for other things, but even now the XL Energy Center is 25 years old. I don't want to see that thing gone. I don't want to see the Target Center um for the Timberwolves gone, even though it's kind of a dump. It's our dump. Like,
Yeah, when it's where you have your memories. It's like my memories
mhm.
as a Bronco is at Lawson. They switched to this new arena. It's gonna feel different. There's been quite a few teams I've been on that got new arenas after I left, and then you see highlights or a game and you're like, well, that's not the arena I remember. That's not the atmosphere I remember. And it's different. And it's like, bring up the Cardiff Devils again. It's like we had a logo and then they decided to rebrand this year and had a new logo. And it's like, why? Like, why? And then it's like they're wearing a different logo and jersey than what I wore. And I'm like, well, I, I would rather you keep the same so it still feels the same. But I understand there's people trying to make money and you get the big arena and you get all these VIP suites and then you're a good team. So then everybody's paying for these suites and you make way more money. But to me, when I was looking around Western Michigan, there was enough money around that you didn't need much else. But I will really, really miss Lawson when it's not their arena to play in. And they won a national championship playing there, which means the world that it wasn't in the new arena.
And they could win Frozen Face-Off Championship there as well next year. Because it's next year, right, Wes, that they're going to the home ice?
Yeah, yeah. This upcoming fall,
This coming season, yeah.
yeah, they go to home ice for the entire conference playoffs. So
Oh, see, it's hard to stay in touch with all the hockey going on out there, you know.
yeah, that's why we only focus on 8 team or 9 teams now, so you had to be 10 in one conference because I don't have the
Right.
time. But no, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know where I land. I'm still, I mean, to me, Western Michigan University is not the university I went to almost 20 years ago now. Like, none of the buildings are the same on campus. Other than Lawson, I think Lawson's one of the few that has been there since I've been there. They tore down my dorm. They built a new cafeteria. They tore down almost every dorm res hall on campus. Um, like it's just completely different from
I can't
why I was
imagine going
there.
back and seeing all that. Like, I only went to the golf tournament. We were pretty busy, so I didn't really take a tour. But I heard the Burnhams are gone, and
Burnhams are gone. The small three is gone. Valley three is gone. The big three, Hokie, Bigelow, Henry are gone. Actually, I think is Henry still there? No, Henry's gone. Um, all the apartments that were adjacent to Stadium Drive, so they were on campus but they faced Stadium. Those are all gone. The Valley apartments are all gone. Um, Sangren's gone was torn down and rebuilt. McCracken Hall is gone. That's where the new student center is. The Bernhard Center is gone.
really,
Yeah, they tore down the
I
Bernhard Center and built a brand new student services building or student center where McCracken used to be, right next to the in between the admin and the chem building.
so if they can tear down all these places and build new ones, why can't we just keep it at Lawson and just make it awesome? But hey, what do I know?
And,
And I mean,
the other thing with the new building to me is I just don't understand the schedule. Men's basketball, women's basketball, the Kalamazoo Wings, Western Hockey, all supposed to use the same arena floor during the season.
Oh, I remember being a pro hockey player and you get to the arena and they'd be pulling off the basketball shit when you showed up. And you're like, so we're playing hockey on the ice that's under that, like, soon. And it was soft. It was not right. And I would much rather be in an old barn that was worried about hockey and the ice they have than putting on all the shows.
soft ice is the worst.
It
I mean,
is,
I
especially when you're
hope
fat.
I would hope that the technology for ice is improved and that there's enough not calling you old, but that wasn't my intention there, but just that there's enough dual purpose buildings that exist now that I think we should have gotten better at maintaining ice integrity while still having multi-use event centers or whatever you want to call them. But it just seems like such a mess. I mean, right now there's you can have women's basketball, men's basketball, a hockey game, and a football game in the same day on a Saturday if it lines up right, and it's happened. That doesn't happen in the new building. And you
It
have to
can't happen.
No, so you have to figure out how to schedule all four of these teams, and yeah, like they were talking about the offices being separated enough, but just the use of the one arena. Like, I don't understand. It doesn't make sense to me. And
So
I
like,
worry about.
I'm guessing then they have a practice arena elsewhere then?
So there will be 2 practice basketball arenas or courts. I think there's supposed to be 2 sheets of ice, the main ice, and maybe a practice sheet. Maybe.
They're gonna have to have a practice somewhere because they can't have the ice on all the time with those other sports using it too.
But everything is
I
supposed to be going downtown. They want a one-stop shop for all of the athletes. They want them to hang out down there. They want them to practice down there, do recovery down there, physical therapy if they need it down there.
and I like being on campus. I don't know if like I've been to Western Michigan. Being on campus is more fun than being downtown. I don't recall how many times I went downtown as a Bronco.
Yeah, I think that's
It
something
wasn't
that
often.
I think that's something that's changed too, especially with COVID and everything being online for a semester. And I mean, the fact that like the entire hockey team played for a month in Omaha, Nebraska. It's not like they were going to physical class. They were probably all in like Zoom classes or whatever. So I don't know how much uh, Mike Shotzley, who was our guest last week, one of the former presidents of the Lost and Lunatics, says yes, 2 rinks and multi basketball courts. So it'll be 2 sheets, 2 basketball courts, downtown. But they just want them to be down, which in my mind, like, it almost secludes them more than where they're at now, just being athletes in general. But yeah, I don't know that they're in class as much as they used to be physically, or if how much is online stuff that they're doing, and they just kind of spend most of their time at the rink anyway.
And I
Right.
think that would annoy me more as an athlete, knowing I have to go somewhere. Well, I do know it annoys me because just in the tennis that I played, our small D3 school, we didn't have actual indoor tennis courts on campus. We had to go. Well, we'd have to go practice at 6:30 in the morning. I didn't want to get up and go drive 10 minutes, practice, and then drive 10 minutes back and then have to go to class. I'd rather just play on that rubber indoor athletic facility courts than actually go play on a real court. So to drive downtown, get downtown, some guys probably don't have a car. They're carpooling, which could be good for team building, but that's still annoying because you have to leave earlier. You have to do all of
You got to
this
organize
stuff.
all the things to be there instead of just
Hmm.
walk your ass over to the rink.
Yeah, I
Yep.
mean, right now where Lawson is, the neighborhood that the guys live in is on the other side of the parking lot.
Yes, yeah.
It's through like what, a stand of like 4 trees deep.
And that's that was the hockey houses when I got to school. And it's a weird dynamic that way, but I guess if anybody can navigate it, it's probably First, but um it's weird for me because when he went on Spit and Chicklets and talks about this big arena, how it's going to be the biggest, nicest thing ever around in college hockey, it's like, well, that to me, that's not what the Broncos are. We're not the ones with the big bells and whistles. We're the ones that go out there and muck it up and give her and care about each other more than the other team. And it's not about having the big fancy shit. We're Broncos, and we're gonna work hard and we're gonna play hard.
And I'm just gonna be frankly honest. I watched that interview. I was not a huge fan of a lot of his answers. I I respect what he does, but he's almost seemed like he was pandering to the Chicklets guys. It I don't care if I'm coming off blunt, wrong, whatever. I just was not a fan of that interview that he did.
I
I
didn't
know he's a
listen to
great
it.
coach, but
I just saw the the part about the new arena and whatever. And
and
the new
he,
arena to me I guess it's a soft spot because I love Lawson Arena. I love the Lawson Lunatics and I don't want it to change, but I just don't see how it can stay the same getting into some fancy pants new arena and not keeping what you have and what's been built there and just making Lawson better, putting in the money to make that arena better would be the best to me.
And I think, sometimes there's a necessity to get a new arena just in general. Well, whether structurally or like in University of St. Thomas, their position, they're building a new multi-purpose arena as well for both their men's and women's basketball teams and their hockey team. But that's out of necessity because they were playing D3 up until a few years ago, and then they moved Division One. Now, some of the Atlantic hockey teams, they are playing in kind of D3 arenas, but that's what makes them them. And they're not pulling in a bunch of people. Here you have a school in the middle of St. Paul that has a ton of money coming in. It's going to give the area another venue to have maybe some smaller concerts, but also an actual Division One arena for all sports where a lot of these Atlantic hockey schools, their gyms aren't going to be there. They're not D1. They're D2 or D3 at the best. Kind of like a UMD or St. Cloud or Bemidji State. Um, those are born out of necessity. This one just feels like we got to keep up with North Dakota. We got to keep up with Denver. We got to do this. And no, you don't necessarily need to. The deck,
You just
yeah,
need
that needed to go
Lawson
in Duluth.
lunatics, and yeah, I don't know. Anyways, we can move on from the new arena.
Yeah.
I think we've hit our point,
I mean, I'm going to support the team wherever they go.
and I will too. And it is what it is. It I when I need to make it back for a Bronco game, and it needs to be before the new arena. Is all I'll say.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
I've been pushing that narrative like super hard. Every time someone mentions the new building, I'm like, come see where they're at right now. Come
Yeah.
meet the team where they're at. See where they won a national title from. You want to talk about all the
It will
bells and
bring
whistles?
back so
See
much
where they're
more
at.
memories for me to go watch a Bronco game in the arena I played in than go see them in the biggest, fanciest arena in college hockey and be like, okay, that's cool. We have that now. But where did I play? Like, where did this come from?
yeah, I want to get out there. I told Wes if UMD's playing out there,
You got 2 years,
I'm gonna
boys. 2
I'm gonna
years.
I'm gonna come out there and
Game
I'm
on.
not gonna cheer for the Broncos at that point. I'm gonna be full Bulldogs.
You shut your filthy mouth when you're talking to me.
Hey, who's got more natties?
I don't know.
Now I'm sounding like a Montreal fan.
I don't know how many you have, but the Broncos have one, so whatever. And what have you done for me lately?
How many do you have since
Not
COVID?
much.
Yeah.
So
Who won the last game? Oh, never mind.
who's the only team to take all the trophies in one season? You guys, right there.
Yeah.
Speaking
And the
of logos.
Kincardine Canucks.
Yeah. So, but yeah, no, I mean, definitely get here. Anyone who's like thinking about going to a game, like the next 2 years are the time to come.
I totally agree. I couldn't agree more. I would not be that jazzed up to go to the new arena and see it. I want to see the Broncos play in Lawson, and I will make it back in the next 2 years. And I can't wait because first the guy is and met him. When we were talking about the guys my generation not coming back that much, and I'm like, well, I plan on bringing my Kincardine Canucks to a game. It didn't work out, but when I brought up the idea, he said, if you ever make it back here, the floor is yours. He's like, if your kids come with you, they can be in the locker room for the pregame speech. They can be right in there with everything. And I'm like, oh my God, you know how to hockey. Like, that's what I want as an alumni, that even if I make it back or not, that you said that can happen makes me want to come back so much more. So I have to make it back, and my kids have to be there for the pregame speech because they love it. And both my kids play, my daughter and my son, and they think hockey's fun and they love it. And if they got to see the Broncos in Lawson, that would melt my heart.
Just make sure one of them doesn't wear the number 4.
No, it's fine. He would be a Bronco. Like, he can wear the number 4.
True.
No,
Like Robbie.
you can't come in a number 4 jersey, but Wally, if he wanted to, or Little Wally, if they wanted to, they can come in a number 4 jersey.
They won't be in a number 4 jersey, but what's that about?
You don't know the 4's a bitch, the away team. So if you wear 4 on the away team and you are on the ice at Western Michigan, you will hear 4's a bitch your entire shift. Anytime you are on the ice.
And if you're not number 4, it's number 5 or number 3.
It's the next closest numeral to 4. I think it's been as high as 7 and as low as 2.
It's interesting. Like, I didn't watch a lot of Broncos stuff for a while there, and then you forget about some of the chants over time, and you go to Germany and there's different chants. And then you watch some video on YouTube and the other team gets a few guys in the penalty box and the crowd starts chanting circle,
Yeah, that's when 3 or more guys are in the penalty box.
Right, and that's funny.
2 is a sausage fest. 3 is a circle jerk.
Right. And that's fun, and that's hockey, and that's how the Broncos win.
What's that one guy? I think it might be in the ECHL. He just heckles the guys and he'll yell out something and then the crowd around him, "You bomb."
Oh yeah, he does baseball too. He's more for baseball, but he started going to I think like San Diego goal games or something.
God, they're so funny. And it's just the most ridiculous stuff. And some of the guys, they actually get mad, but most of the guys ignore them. And then you get the couple guys that are like, yeah, dude, that's pretty good.
Why would you say that to me? I think.
Well, you guys got anything else for me today, or what?
I don't think so. Mike, you got anything left?
No, I don't think so. I got playoff teams to watch.
You got any questions for us there, Wally?
I don't think so. I would just say that what that team did this season, what First did and all those kids did on that team, it was amazing how it brought back a lot of proudness from my era. That it was amazing, the group chats that fired back up. Like, I couldn't believe it because I've been gone for nearly 2 decades. And then everybody started talking about going to St. Louis. And it was freshman when I was a senior. It was my class. It was the guys above me. And I was in all these different group chats and everybody's talking about going to St. Louis. And First did it. Like, he told me, he's like, we got to bring them all back. We got to get everybody back and part of this family again. And it happened, and it's happening. And I can't imagine what the golf tournament's going to be like this summer. Like, I think there's good. I went back a year ago and I got to meet the kid that wore number 10 because I wore number 10 in Kalamazoo minor hockey. And he gave me his jersey and signed it. And now he's going to come to my golf tournament I'm having here in Kincardine. And it made me feel like I was still part of the Bronco family. And then they go out and do this. And we had talked about bringing everybody back. And then it happened because they won. And winning brings people together. And losing, when you lose, everybody starts pointing fingers. Like, we lost because of this. We lost because of that. We lost because of this. And that's what it was at the end of my career at Western Michigan, was everybody's pointing fingers at each other, from coaches to players. And it's like, holy shit, this isn't what it's about. This isn't what we've been doing for 4 years. And it was a tough way to go out. But then to see this team bring everybody back together and be a family and everybody start texting again, it was incredible. And like, I know I didn't play and I didn't win, but like I said to a few guys, it's like, I feel like we won. And they're like, yeah, we did win. Like, we are Broncos. And I'm like, yeah, like, this is incredible.
Hey, I've been trying to increase your Bronco-ness over the last couple of years. I keep involving you in stupid chats and sending you silly messages, and brought you
You've been great
back
at it.
when they were talking about 50 years of Bronco hockey, and I thought there was no better person to reach out than you and get your story about being a Bronco and what it meant, and now that things are on the upslope and you're becoming more prevalent or present, I feel like I've done a little bit of good there.
No, 100%. And when you realize you weren't forgot about, or what you didn't matter, or people do still care. It's like when I posted the episode me and you had on my podcast, there were familiar faces from the Kalamazoo area that liked it when you became a collaborator. And I'm like, oh fuck, I know him. I know him. And I'm like, oh my God, it's all still the same people cheering on the Broncos. And it's a family. And when going back to that golf tournament made me realize, like, I'm very much a part of this, whether I've been here for 18 years or not. Um, we are all still one, and we are all Broncos for life.
And I think that's the cool thing too that I've noticed getting to know these players, especially when Firsch has been there. All these guys we've had on are absolute class acts. They're the nicest guys ever. I know Trevor was a little outside of that, but Ethan, Sam, Tristan, Robbie, Cam, all these guys, they're just great people in general, and you can tell they care, and they had a lot of fun with each other. And we were even talking with Tristan about it. He walked in and it was like he was just a part of the team. And same with Robbie. They were just also welcoming to them, even though Robbie played for Miami for, the first 4 years of his career, stuck in the misery that was Miami. Now he's a national champion. He comes back and gets to spend his last year like that. But they all seemed like they're having so much fun. And it seems like I told Dan it trickles down from him. It goes to these guys, and now it's trickling down to the alumni with what Firsch is doing and getting you guys super excited about your team. And that's what's so awesome about it.
Well, and what's neat for me is like when at the rink wasn't the culture I wanted when I played there. It wasn't the way I had hockeyed in the past, especially when we started losing my last couple of years, and like I was the guy, but like you'd show up to the rink and get bag skated or battle so hard that you'd be so sore and bruised and battered that come game time, you're not ready to play because you just went through hell all week to get to the games. Um, those guys looked fresh playing hockey. They looked ready to play. They looked excited to play. But when I was there, we were as tight as a hockey team could be away from the rink. We were brothers, and we would do everything together, and we cared so much about each other. And to see that culture still exist nowadays, it gets filtered down. And it started with Dana Lattery. It started with maybe the people before him. It started right at the start. But Broncos care about each other, and they care about each other in a whole different way especially when you used to go 4 years together. Now the transfer portal and all that, I find it neat with all that going on that the same culture exists, is that we love each other, we care about each other, and we are going to have fun on the ice and off the ice. And then you see them win and having the fun they're having. Yes, I'm jealous, but yes, I'm very proud of them.
I do have to say though, Wes has to step up his game because so the Bronco hockey thing, like you can tell it's filtered down to me. When I went to Fargo, I told Wes, I said, I am going to print out a picture of your stupid face painted and then go stick it on the glass and sit there with it during warm-ups. I go down and there are a couple guys in Western jerseys, they're college kids. I'm like, you guys go to Western? They're like, yeah. I'm like, oh, well, I'm gonna sneak past you. I'm gonna put this thing. Do you guys know the painted Bronco? They're like, we have no idea. I show them the picture. They're like, we have no idea who that is. I'm like, kids these days, Jesus Christ. I'm like, Wes, you got to step up your game. These idiots don't know who you are. Now, they didn't seem like the brightest bulbs.
Well, they
But
went to Western Michigan, so they can't be the brightest.
There's also
they made Wes look like freaking Einstein.
there's also
So
a
that's
high likelihood that mind altering goodies have been partaken through
they
most of their
sounded like they
career,
were
both
they
at Lawson and not. So it's not surprising that they may not have full recollection of what they have or haven't seen at Lawson Ice Cream.
they kind of sounded like they were hired
I
out
would
of
agree. I would
giraffe's
agree
ass.
with you, Wes. I would agree with you. I played at Lawson, and then all of a sudden, the one area would just clear out, and you're like, "Oh, somebody just vomited," and then you just keep playing.
There's a particular nickname that the university is not super fond of, but has lived far beyond its means and spread wider than any good reputation that Western may have.
And that would be
Just do a little rearranging of letters. Maybe put some A's where some E's are. In
Yeah, Western Michigan.
yeah, that may or may
Oh.
not
That's
have
what
been
that's what I call it. I don't know. I made
floated
that up
around once or
myself,
twice.
but yeah, I've said it once or twice. But I had a great time there. Never felt more at home than at Western Michigan, and I wish the hockey would have been different while I was there, but I did my best. And to see what it's become and see them still have the brotherhood with the transfer portals and everything, and Firsch pumping out pros like nobody's business and getting them ready and supporting them and letting them leave so that he can bring in the next wave of Broncos. It's heartwarming stuff for a guy that was told to stay back and not go. And then when you do finish your senior year and then they don't even have your back, you're like, now I don't know how I feel about you. And it took a long time to get over that. So,
no, makes sense.
But- yeah, well, but now we're national champions and everything is right in the world and it all works out in the wash. Right?
I would think so. I mean, not only are we national champions, we are conference champions, we are conference tournament champions, and we are national champions.
Yeah, winning is fun. And the Concardant Canucks are back-to-back under 13 champions.
There you go. Broncos winning everywhere.
Well, now your old teammate Patty Dwyer better win this game tonight.
Hey,
Fucking
I'll stay out of it. I can only care about so many teams.
hey, no, you can cheer for your buddy, but I don't even think I'm gonna stay up for that game.
No, it's bedtime for me, guys. Well, thanks for having me on. And
Thanks for being here.
yeah, I think it's really neat you work at Waldo's and that all the boys came and did that for you and the bar. And Waldo's is an iconic place at Western Michigan. And that happened, and it happened right after I did a podcast with you, was pretty neat, man.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's been a very fun week, and we're starting to get back to normal life. So we'll just keep watching transfer portal and pro signings, and eventually we'll get a schedule for next year, and the next year will be here before we know it.
That's how it works.
All right. Well, I think there's only really one thing left to say, and that's Pucks on Net. Good things happen, like goal horns and fight songs. He's been Wally. I've been Wes, and down there's Mike. Until the next episode, we're out of here.